Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're diving deep into Ninja Gaiden 4, and let me just say this up front. This one has been a hell of a ride. After 13 years of waiting, we finally have a new mainline Ninja game, and it's complicated. Not a bad complicated, just complicated in a way that you're generally torn between what you expected and what you actually got. So here's the deal, Team Ninja partnered with Platinum Games for this one, and if you know anything about action games, that's like hearing your two favorite bands doing a collaboration album. Sometimes it works out incredibly, sometimes it's a bit messy, and Ninja Gaiden 4 somehow manages to be both at the exact same time. Let me start with probably the biggest curveball this game throws at you. You're not playing Hayabusa for most of it. Yeah, I know, I heard the collective gas, it pissed me off as well. Instead, you're following this brand new Raven Clan ninja with frosted tips anime. And before you close this video thinking that this is some bait and switch situation, please hear me out, because what they've done here is actually pretty interesting, even if it's not what everybody wanted. The story kicks off with Yakumo on a mission to destroy this dark dragon that basically turned Tokyo into a nightmare hellscape. You got your typical ninja clan politics, a priestess who wants protecting, 4 magic seals that need purifying, and you know, the standard Tuesday night stuff for a ninja. But what makes this interesting is that for once, we're not seeing the world through the eyes of a legendary Ryu Hayabusa. We're seeing it through someone else's perspective, someone who has their own clan, their own motives, and their own way of doing things. The Raven Clan are descendants of the Dark Dragon, which already sets them apart from Ryu's clan. They're not villains, but they're not exactly best buds with the traditional good guys either. It's a great era that actually makes the story more engaging than I expected. Even though overall the narrative is pretty straightforward and predictable, you see most twists coming from a mile away. But honestly, let's be real guys, has anyone ever played Ninja Gaiden for the deep, complex storytelling? I don't think so. But now let's talk about what really matters and what we really play Ninja Gaiden for, the combat. And holy hell, this is where things get really good. If you love Ninja Gaiden 2 combat, you're gonna feel right at home here. But with some serious upgrades that make everything feel more fluid and responsive. The obliteration techniques are back, the flying swallow is here, auto techniques are still your best friend, and they added this whole new bloodbind system that completely changes how you approach fights. See, when you hold down the left trigger as Yakumo, you transfer your weapon into this powered up Blood Raven version. The dual katanas become this massive longsword, the stab turns into a giant hammer. It's very Platinum Games, very over the top, and absolutely perfect for breaking through enemy guards. The key is managing your bloodbind gauge because you need it to interrupt enemies' attacks and break through their defenses when they start blocking everything you throw at them. And trust me, enemies will block. They'll armor through your attacks, hit you off screen, grab you if you try to turtle up. This is still Ninja Gaiden. It still wants you to suffer, but in a good way. The enemy AI is probably the most aggressive I've seen in the series, and that's saying something. They don't want to wait their turn. They don't give you breathing room. On the higher difficulties, they'll absolutely destroy you if you're not on point with your defensive options. And speaking of defense, they've added 3 different defense techniques now. You got your standard parry by attacking into enemy attacks, a perfect block that requires precise timing, and a perfect dodge called Mirage. Each one has its own follow-up attacks, and mastering when to use each defensive option is crucial. Especially during boss fights, it adds another layer of depth that makes combat feels less like a mindless button mashing and more like an actual duel. The weapons are fantastic too. You get 4 different weapons as Yakumo, and while I won't spoil what they are, each one feels completely distinct with its own moveset, its own Blood Raven transformation, and its own strategic use. The weapon swap is instant, thank God. Just hit the D-pad and you can even combo between different weapons mid-fight. It's smooth and it's stylish, and when you nail a perfect combo chain, switching between 3 different weapons while dodging attacks and landing obliterations, you feel like an absolute god. But here's where we need to talk about something that's going to divide some people. Hayabusa. He's in the game, but you don't play him until about 8 hours or 9, and that's roughly 11 to 12 hour campaign. And when you do play as him, it's different. He only has his dragon sword, no weapon variety, and you're still basically retrading the same levels as Yakumo just went through, fighting mostly the same enemies and the same bosses. Now Ryu still feels like Ryu. He's got his own deliberate weighty movement from older games. His animations are classic Ninja Gaiden, and they even bring back the original NES theme from one of the levels that hit me right in the nostalgia. But compared to Yakumo's arsenal of variety, Ryu feels limited. It's like going from driving a sports car with all the latest tech to driving a classic muscle car. It's still freaking awesome, but with some missing modern conveniences. After beating the game, you can replay the entire campaign as Ryu, which is a nice bonus, but it doesn't change the fact that his sections feel like they were added to please fans rather than being inaugural to the experience. And look, I really do get it. This is supposed to be Yakumo's story, his journey to become a master ninja, while Ryu is already as an established legend. But when you're marketing the game as Ninja Gaiden 4 and you show Ryu promptly in the trailers, people are going to expect more than what we got. I bought this game for Ryu, damn it. Let's talk about level design, because this is where things get a bit rough. Remember how Ninja Gaiden Black had these interconnected, almost Metroidvania style levels where you backtrack through areas that changed and evolved? Yeah, that's not here anymore. Instead, we got this very linear corridors with occasional side paths for treasure chests or challenge room. The environments themselves are mostly forgettable. Dark Tokyo streets, foggy mountains, sewers that all look the same, military bases that couldn't be any more generic in an action game. There are some attempts to break things up with some traversal sections. You got rail gliding sections that feel very Sonic inspired, parts where you surf through sewers on what I can only describe as a ninja skateboard, and grinding through sections where you ride wind currents. They're fine at the first time, but by the third or fourth time, you're just doing the exact same rail grinding section with no variation. It starts to feel like just padding. The weird thing is, I've seen this exact same issue in other Platinum games. They nail the combat to a T, but phone in level design, it's very arcade-like, which some people love, but when you're coming from the more carefully crafted worlds from earlier Ninja Gaiden games, it's super disappointing. There's even this bizarre thing when you find this dance club asset randomly placed in sewers, like full-on disco balls and neo lights just chilling next to toxic waste. I still don't know if it was intentional or someone just forgot to remove placeholder assets. The side content is actually pretty decent though. Each level has its optional objectives like defeating specific enemies, finding collectibles called Gorgies, which are these little monster things, or completing areas without taking any damage. But the real star here is the Purgatory gates. These are challenge rooms where you face waves of increasingly difficult enemies, and here's the cool part, you can choose how much health you want to attempt them with. Less health means better rewards, and some of these challenges are absolutely brutal. The upgrade system has been completely overhauled too. Instead of upgrading weapons individually, you buy universal upgrades with ninja coins that you earn from completing missions and challenges. Weapon-specific techniques use weapon XP that you gain from combat experience. It's a good system once you get it going, but the early game is rough. You start without even basic techniques like absorbing essence from instant ultimate techniques or flying swallow. Everything needs to be purchased, including consumable items, which makes the first 2 hours feel unnecessarily restricted. And this is where I need to mention something that feels a little bit scummy. It gives you 500,000 ninja coins right from the start. That's enough to buy basically every early game upgrade. If you're standard edition, you're going to be grinding for hours just to get abilities that should probably be baseline. It doesn't ruin the game, but it definitely makes those first few chapters harder than it needs to be. The boss fights are a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm not sure how I felt about them, which honestly isn't surprising given both is a Ninja Gaiden game and a Platinum game. Some bosses are incredible, fast-paced, aggressive, with multiple phases and attack pattern that really test your mastery of the combat system. The soundtrack during these fights absolutely slaps too. We're talking heavy metal mixed with traditional Japanese instruments, but then you have other bosses that are just damage sponges with annoying gimmicks. Bosses that teleport away every time you get close, giant monsters that spam ads while throwing out screen effects attacks, encounters that feel more like endurance tests than skill challenges. Inconsistent in a way that reminds me of Ninja Gaiden 2. When it's good, it's incredible. When it's bad, you just want to get through it and kind of move on. Performance wise, I played on PC at 20 frames per second and the game's run like butter. The combat is fast and fluid, going back to 60 frames per second feels like slow motion. Console versions target 60 FPS per second, which mostly hit, though I did hear there are some drops during the most chaotic fights with a lot of enemies on screen. Sometimes are basically non-existent on current gen, which is great because you will die, and you will die a lot. And speaking of difficulty, this game does not mess around. I played on hard for my first playthrough, which felt like a sweet spot for someone who's familiar with the series, but even then, some encounters had me restarting 10-15 times. Master Ninja difficulty unlocks after beating the game, and from what I played of it, it's absolutely sadistic. Enemies are faster, more aggressive, and do more damage, and there are more of them. It's exactly what hardcore fans want. But they've also added hero mode for newcomers, which includes auto block, auto dodge, and simplified combos. You can eventually change the difficulty mid-game except on Master Ninja, which is a smart way to make the game more accessible without compromising the core experience for veterans. After the credits roll, you unlock a bunch of extra content. There's a chapter select that you can replay any level with each character, 18 combat trials with unique modifier and challenges, and the ability to play the entire campaign. The combat trials are particularly good, featuring enemies and scenarios not in the main campaign. Some disable your gauge, others have your health consistently draining, and they all push you to really master the combat system. For a game that takes about 12 hours to beat on your first run, there's a surprising amount of replay value. I'm about 25 hours now, and there's still trials to complete, Purgatory gates to perfect, and scores to improve. If you're someone who loves to master action games and really dig into combat systems, perfect play, you can easily get 50 hours plus out of this. But let's be real about what this game is and isn't. If you're going into this experience looking for Ninja Gaiden Black, you're going to be disappointed. This is much more in line with Ninja Gaiden 2, focused on combat above all else, with everything else being serviceable but not exceptional. The story exists just to get you from fight to fight. The levels are arenas connected by corridors, and the whole thing has this arcade-like feel that either you vibe with or you just don't. For me personally, for someone who's been playing these games since the NES days, Ninja Gaiden 4 is a good game, but it could have been better. The combat is absolutely top tier. It's some of the best I've played in action games. When you're in chaining combos between weapons, perfectly timing your defenses, managing your resource while fighting off enemies at once is pure adrenaline. It's everything that I want from a Ninja Gaiden game in terms of action, but the lack of care in other areas really holds it back. The uninspired level design, the predictable story, Yakumo kind of just being a generic edgelord, Ryu feeling like an afterthought really pissed me off. These things do add up. It's frustrating because you can see the potential for something that's truly special here, but it feels like they either ran out of time, money, or both to fully realize the vision. That said, I still absolutely had a blast with this game. Despite all my complaints, I kept coming back for one more run, one more trial, one more attempt at that Purgatory gate that kept kicking my ass. The core gameplay is just that good. It scratches that itch that's challenging, stylish action that so few games even attempt anymore. So should you buy Ninja Gaiden 4? If you're a fan of the series or action games in general, hell yeah, absolutely. Even with its flaws, it's still one of the best action games we've gotten in years. The combat alone is worth the price of admission, but maybe wait for a sale if you're on the fence, especially for someone who values story and presentation as much as gameplay. If you're new to the series, this actually isn't a bad place to start. The story stands alone, the hero mode makes it more approachable, and the combat teaches you fundamentals before ramping up the complexity. Just know that you're not getting the full Ninja Gaiden experience. For that, you still need to go back to the early days and play Ninja Gaiden Black. Look, at the end of the day, I'm just happy we got a new Ninja Gaiden game at all. This was actually really special to me because this was me and my dad's favorite series growing up as a kid, and he's not here today to even play Ninja Gaiden 4. After 13 years, I was starting to think this series was dead. This proves that there's still life in the franchise, still an audience for this type of hardcore action game. It's not perfect, but it's good enough that I'm excited to see where they go from here. Whether that's Ninja Gaiden 5 with Yakumo, a proper Ryu-focused sequel, or something completely different, I'm still on board. The collaboration between Team Ninja and Platinum Games resulted in something that feels familiar and fresh and classic but modern. The Ninja Gaiden filtered through Platinum's sensibilities, and while that won't be for everyone, it worked for me. The blood, the speed, the challenge, the satisfaction of perfectly executing a complex combo, it's all here and it's all still good. Before I wrap up, I want to touch on something that I really think is important. This game is unapologetically a video game in a way that feels refreshing in 2025. It's not trying to be smatic, it's not trying to tell some deep meaning story about human connection. It's not a full-on RPG mechanics or crafting system or some live service bullshit. It's a game about ninja cutting demons into pieces with increasingly ridiculous weapons, and sometimes that's exactly what you want. In a year where every other game seems to be chasing trends, trying to be the next big thing, Ninja is content with just being a really solid action game. It knows what it is, it knows what the audience wants, it delivers with confidence. Sure, I wish it delivered a bit more in some areas, but I respect the focus. So final thoughts, Ninja Gaiden 4 is flawed but a fantastic return to the series. The combat is absolutely phenomenal, the challenges is real, despite its shortcomings, it's one of the most purely fun games I played this year. It's not going to blow everyone's mind or revolutionize the genre, hell no, but for fans of hardcore action games, it absolutely is worth your time. Anyway, that's going to do it for this review. Let me know in the comments what you think about the new direction with Yakumo, or whether you're team Ninja like I am, or actually warming up to the new guy. If you enjoyed this review, hit the subscribe button. I've got more reviews coming up, including some deep dives into classic action games that you might have missed. And if you want to catch me live playing through some Master Ninja difficulty and probably raging really hard, I'm streaming over on Twitch 3 nights a week. Link is in the description. Come hang out and watch me die repeatedly. It's super fun. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, stay motivated even when that boss is on his 15th phase and you're out of healing items. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart, stay alpha. Peace out.